Because you can shut down businesses if you go through the right process that are blighted. Because you can shut down businesses if you go through the right process that are blighted.
Welcome to episode 3 of Write-In Tom McMasters When You Vote for Who Writes Mayor. I've titled this, Is Council Preparing to Close Down Another Business So They Can Put in More Apartments? It's kind of a stretch, but they actually are talking about closing down Rural King. Makes no sense to me out there, and the reason that they're all concerned about that is because Rural King sells merchandise out of their parking lot. Caught me totally off guard when I heard them talking about this the other night in a council meeting. Totally disagree. Just thought I would point that out. And in fact, not only am I not upset with Rural King selling stuff in their parking lot, I would let ABC Supply Company's application that they have to do the same thing go through and let them sell stuff out of their parking lot. Okay, so with that, in order for me to become a write-in candidate for mayor, I'm going to need to get my message out. So in order to help me with that, I'm hoping that you will like, comment, and share this video, talk to your neighbors and friends, and tell them about my campaign as a write-in candidate for Who Writes Mayor. Have to write in Tom McMasters on election day or prior if you vote early. The rest of the video is of Mark Campbell and the mayor talking about how bad it is that the railroad ties are in the parking lot. That is about 11 minutes long, but appreciate if you can listen to it because that helps the analytics with YouTube. If not, if you just scroll down to the last 30 seconds and just let it run to the end, that'll actually help the analytics as well. With that, here's the rest of the council meeting.
Here we go.
Blighted. Because you can shut down businesses if you go through the right process that are blighted.
Yep.
Next, here's a case study we ought to look at. John, and this is before you. We only got to the truth because of you. Rural King. How many years, Jeff, did you complain about them having outdoor stuff? And how many years were you told by staff, we're working on that, man, we're almost done. They're going to clean that up. For us to find out by John, they're not restricted. It was allowed. So I'd like to have a case study, and I'd like to pull those files, and I'd like to know who influenced us to pass that, because there's not been a council that I know of in 40 years that would have allowed Rural King to have done that to their property.
Yeah, I think, in fact, we were just having a conversation about this a few minutes ago. So we had a former assistant city manager who was also the liaison to the planning commission, who approved that variance at that particular time. It never did come before council. That was done through the planning commission through a variance on that property. And my concern was, and I'm just going to say it now, I believe there is a case coming up to planning commission on, I think it might be tomorrow night, where ABC Supply, right across the street from them, is now asking to do the same thing for the front of their parking lot. And I came up Taylorsville not too long ago, and I looked over, and you can see there are stacks of shingles and all kinds of materials and stuff that ABC Supply already has out in their parking lot, and now they're asking for the same type of variance. And it has to stop. I mean, I'm so frustrated driving by Rural King. It makes me want to pull my hair out every time I go by there.
Okay, well, let's just dream for a minute. You're on 75, you're coming to Ypres Heights, you take the exit, you're on Little York Road. You're coming up around Rip Rap, you're going up Taylorsville Road. You pass a hard fill, you pass a company that I swear, Scott, are they busting up rock? Is that what they do for a living? And then you drive up and you see Rural King. And then if you were to turn right and go south on Troy, you'd see the tall timbers. Here's what you would do. You'd keep driving to Needmore, make a right, and get back on 75 as fast as you could.
Yep.
That's just one little trip,
Yeah.
visiting our city.
I think all the way around, especially when you look at our entrances into the city and as you say, the front doors, yeah, there's definitely some work that could be done. Yeah, 100%, wouldn't disagree.
I do whatever it takes on behalf of 43,000 people to make that aesthetically look better. And I would do a case study research on Roll King, and I'd find out what happened. If you already know what happened, I'd give it to Chris to see if what happened was even legal.
Does anybody have any objections having Chris review that zoning policy for what's going on at Rural King? So, and clearly, I mean, that's time and effort spent by the city attorney, so that's why I'm asking for council if there's any objections to spending that money to have Chris look into that. Yeah, if it can legally be overturned, I would be 1,000% in favor of that. Because
It's an eyesore.
it's a joke, is what it is.
It's an eyesore. Let's just call it what it is. It's an eyesore.
Yep.
It's a for-profit eyesore in our town. And our town's outgrown that.
Scott?
Can John or staff talk to Royal King again, see if they could put that on the side where it was at one time when it was Kmart and everything?
So, to my knowledge, we've had those conversations with them.
Yes, sir.
And they don't care.
I have an idea.
I mean,
I have an idea. It would be the south of their building that currently stands, add on to it. Build a store about that size because they have the land, and then take all the stuff that's outside and put it inside. There'd be a thought.
it's a great idea.
That'd take money. Their return on investment would go down.
So, and I think,
I would welcome somebody coming to city council and describing that I talked about their business in this fashion. Because it's an eyesore.
I'm jumping around that bandwagon with you. I think there are, and just well before, I mean, some of people that are currently on council before, as you know, once we get to any type of zoning variances or once we get to the detailed development plan process from anything from planning commission, the only thing that council, as you know now, deals with is on the zoning approvals. When zoning is required to be changed, that's when something from a zoning perspective comes before council where we vote on it. Stuff that happens at planning commission beyond that, dealing with detailed development plans, zoning variances, things like that, all those come to planning commission, and that decision is made there, and it never finds its way to us. It wasn't until after that approval had already happened from the previous assistant city manager and our planning commission liaison that was approved, and those things started happening. Did any of us even know that it happened? So, unless we were at all the planning commission meetings to see what was going on. And at that time, we had, in retrospect, we can say whether this is good or bad, but at one point in time, we were concerned with lots of council members showing up to planning commission meetings because of the appearance of undue influence to planning commission members when it was coming time for decisions to be made. So we kind of made it a point to make that kind of an independent, more independent body. So in retrospect, I wish we could go back and change that, and I'm more than happy to have Chris look at that and see if there's a way we can put that toothpaste back in the tube.
Well, here's what bothers me. You tell me as mayor that the planning commission is a recommending body back to council.
From a zoning change request, yep.
And then the laws are such that the people, the body that the citizens vote for, council, sits here and explains to the taxpayers, oh, I'm sorry, we didn't create that eyesore, planning commission did.
Yeah, it seems
It's not
backward.
good.
It seems backward, but the way
Well, it's no representation.
the way the charter, I mean, if we can find a way to change it, I'm more than happy to do that. But I think lots of things would need to be changed in terms of what the roles of of the commission is. What we see after a planning commission takes a vote or before they take a vote, or if it is nothing but recommendation. Because as long as I've been the mayor, we've never approved a detailed development plan. We've never approved a zoning variance. It's just been zoning approval.
Here's what we need to case study. We have Roll King. It's an eyesore. How did that happen? However that happened, that's what we need to change.
Don't disagree.
Whatever caused that, it needs to change.
Chris, is it something you can help us out with?
Yeah, a couple things. One, you're already doing a zoning code rewrite. Those
Yes.
things would ordinarily be discussed in that process. There's pros and cons to both. Different communities exercise their powers differently. I think it's important to make a distinction between a rezoning, which is a legislative act, which has to come to council.
Yes.
Versus what might be considered to be either quasi judicial, which is typically what a BZA variance is. Most communities allow the BZA to stand alone. The city is a party, and you don't see it very often, but in theory, the city could actually sue its own BZA. But I think it really comes down to, as a matter of, I'll call it a blend of policy and control. There's no right or wrong answer when it comes to that. I'm trying to think, in most of the communities that I've represented over the years, variances do not go to council, but site development plans typically do, because the elected officials want control of that type of development.
So if there is a way to, I'll just use the term, unwind that clock, if there's a way to do that legally within our code for what's happening there, I would be more than happy to see it and what we can do to fix it. And I'll just, if we're having conversation, from that perspective, I would like to know, it would be nice to know if, even though a piece of property is zoned conditionally for a particular business to come in, is there a way that council could see that also? Instead of one day driving down the street and realizing there's a new business that we've got 13 of already, that just because that particular piece of property was zoned for what they wanted to use it for, we had no idea, again, because we can't, if we went through all of our existing open property and started trying to pick and choose different zoning or whatever, is that something that could be done? That would be a massive undertaking.
Well,
Or-
you have to be careful how you say when you pick and choose. There's a principle that's called spot zoning, which is not favored.
Sure.
The term is frequently misused, but when you start using words like pick and choose, that implies a form of that. But again, the answer is yes. You're going organically now through a zoning code rewrite for one of those reasons, but that doesn't mean that we can't take a look at those issues now, particularly because you're going to need to address them in the zoning code anyway. So if we can't change what it exists today, we can adopt a new zoning code, and you may not be able to address it today, but a non-conforming use at some point will typically go away.
John Russell, who is the president of the Dayton Development Coalition?
Gosh,
Jeff
Hoagland.
Chris, did you know Jeff when he was the assistant city manager in Kettering?
I'm aware that he has had various official functions in his
Well,
career.
he had a very successful tenure at Kettering. There was a shopping center known as Hills and Dells that you can't tell it was ever there because it was determined because of the effort applied by Kettering to be condemned or something, because they had done so little property maintenance for so many years, they had it condemned.
It became, I think, because I lived fairly close to there when I was, during that time, it became a blighted property.
Blighted, that's it.
Right,
Blighted.
and they redeveloped it, they put it in an Applebee's, that whole business park back there, and yeah.
Well, Jeff did that. Yeah. I changed my eyesore to blighted.
There we go.
Blighted. Because you can shut down businesses if you go through the right process that are blighted.